Brody's Cause on the outside. Final furlong of the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity. Brody's Cause a final try. Brody's Cause and Corey Lannery a tremendous run. Brody's Cause at the 16th pole. Brody's Cause in front. Brody's Cause for Luis Saez to win the Toyota Bluegrass.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Spa Babies, presented by Spendthrift, the Breeders' Farm. I'm Dan Illman, along with Nicole Russo, and Friday's Spa Baby race kicks off the early pick 4. It's race number 2, and we'll take a look at the field. We're going 1 mile and a 16th on the inner turf. It is a maiden special weight for 2-year-old New York breds. And Nicole, an intriguing race. We've got several horses with experience, and I think on the turf stretching out, you kind of want to have horses that have that experience and that foundation.
I think so. Definitely the foundation, as you mentioned, you're looking for efforts that will move a horse forward from a fitness standpoint. I think even if the horse doesn't have a racing experience, I think at a race like this, you might want to gravitate toward a horse with a long, steady work tab rather than a horse with sort of a shorter work tab. Look for the ones with that foundation.
Well, we'll take the field in program number order. There is a 3-ply Rapoli stable entry in here. The number 1 microsecond is entered for main track only, so we'll move on to the 1A. That is Mo Ready. Mo Ready is one of those horses with racing experience. He was bet down to odds on in his career debut on the dirt back at Belmont a couple of months ago, and he was just beaten by, I think, a pretty decent horse named Sky of Hook, a horse that came back to win a stakes race on the dirt.
Yeah, Sky of Hook, as you mentioned, flattered that race. There's a few in here coming out of that race when he came back to be a stakes winner at Saratoga. Mo Ready came back from that and has gotten to work several times on the turf at Saratoga. They must like what they see to make the surface switch. Certainly the Uncle Mo's run a little bit on everything. The Uncle Mo's can go long. Todd Pletcher, Mike Rapoli, we talk a lot about, the intent of connections. Pletcher usually has 2-year-olds ready to run at Saratoga. Mike Rapoli loves to win these events at Saratoga, and getting Jose Ortiz aboard here.
Not a ton of turf pedigree on the bottom. You mentioned Uncle Mo on top. He's sensational with just about everything. This horse is a half to a multiple stakes winning dirt sprinter named Sudden Surprise. The dam placed sprinting on dirt at 2. But as we see from this formulator fact, Todd Pletcher wins with these kind of horses over the past 3 years, with 2-year-old second-time starters moving from dirt to turf and sprint to route in a maiden special weight. 40% winners and a $3.14 ROI. Coupled in the wagering with Mo Ready is the 1X, Managing Risk. This one is trained by Rudy Rodriguez. Didn't do much running in his career debut. They're going to try the turf. What can we expect from this first crop sire, Micromanage?
Well, Micromanage standing in New York, there's a little bit of turf, I think, on the top side of his pedigree. He's by Medaglia d'Oro, who can sire a turf runner. The El Prado sire line, very prominent on turf. But I do think the Micromanages are going to be at their best on dirt and going longer and with experience. Now, Micromanage was a 2-year-old debut winner at Saratoga. He was a Grade 1 place stakes winner at 3, but was really best as an older horse going long on dirt. He won the Grade 3 skip away at Gulfstream as a 4-year-old. His other stakes performances as an older horse included winning the Birdstone Stakes at Saratoga, going 1 mile and 3/4. So I think Managing Risk will relish the distance here, but they're really going to strike me, I think, as dirt horses.
I concur that this horse is going to appreciate distance, and really the only chance to stretch out for 2-year-olds at Saratoga is on the turf. Those are where the 2-year-old route races are. Maybe we will see Managing Risk do better on the dirt down the road. The dam did place on synthetic. Sometimes the synthetic form translates well to turf. This is not Rudy Rodriguez's best move, however, moving from dirt to turf. We'll move to the number 2, Kobe. This is by an intriguing first crop stallion. Japan was this big hulking horse, and you got to think his progeny they're going to appreciate these longer distances.
I think so as well. And I think they're also going to appreciate experience. Japan was a later developer, didn't start until he was 3, won the Easy Goer at Belmont and was 3rd in the Jim Dandy, and a salty renewal behind Texas Red and Frosted. A promising horse, a tremendous physical who was just hampered by injury and never really got to show, I think, what was expected of him. Now, he did all of his work on the dirt, but think he could be an interesting prospect as a turf sire. He's by Medaglia d'Oro, who, I just mentioned, that son of El Prado. He's full to a graded winning millionaire in Al Khali, who did all of his work on the turf. I do think Japan might be an interesting kind of hidden turf sire.
And certainly, as we say, a stamina influence. The dam is a half to Z Humor, who won the Delta Jackpot as a 2-year-old going around 2 turns. She has already foaled a couple of turf winners, and Kobe has some experience. I just think that debut was a little bit short for him on the main track. Nice inside post position. Luis Saez has the mount. We move to the number 3, Driftwood. This is a half-brother to a stakes-placed dirt sprinter named Behind the Couch. But you go deep in this female family, a lot of class.
Yeah, deep in the female family, a lot of class, also a lot of distance. This is the family of Preakness winner Shackelford, Alabama winner Lady Joni, a Fleeting Lady who was a graded winner around 2 turns. A lot of the female family says just distance and class, and Courageous Cat, I think, on top adds your turf ability.
Although Courageous Cat was a really nice turf horse in his day, he struggled a little bit with his 2-year-olds, only 3% winners with juvenile debut runners, 5% first-turt. But you're right, Courageous Cat does give turf to this pedigree. It'll be interesting to see what we get from Driftwood. I noticed a little bit of a gap in the work tab between the last 2 workouts. I wonder if Kenny McPeak's going to give this horse a race before he fires second time or third time out. The number 4 is Mitzrayim, an $80,000 yearling, sold for $115,000 last year. This is a really strong turf family. Dam one on the surface, and it's the family of Risk Averse.
Yeah, family of Risk Averse, grade 1 winner on turf. Another outstanding female family. If you dig into different branches of this family, responsible for the likes of Tonalist, Harvard of Grace. This one is by Cairo Prince, who was among last year's leading freshman sires. A son of Pioneer of the Nile. There's turf ability in that line. Pioneer of the Nile was a winner on turf, a grade 1 winner on synthetic. His sons at stud now include American Pharaoh, who's gotten off to such a good start on the turf. This is one of those 2-year-olds that we're talking about, perhaps gained fitness from his 2 sprint starts, was well beaten in his maiden, but that race came back well. Again, we mentioned Sky of Hook, the winner, coming back to be a stakes winner at Saratoga. This one improved last time out, went 3rd, and now gets a surface change.
Mitzrayim, as you say, has shown improvement from start to start. I really like the improved speed this horse shown with the addition of Lasix last time out. I would not be surprised at all if he's forwardly placed under Chris Landeros. We'll move on to No Lime. This is the number 5, a $22,000 short yearling, sold for $30,000 as a yearling by Flashback, who's done very well with his juvenile debut runners, 16% winners, 13% first time on the turf. A little bit of dirt and synthetic on the bottom of this pedigree, but a horse that might appreciate this longer distance.
Yeah, I think so. Flashback is son of Tappet, and Tappet's really, I think, a multi-purpose sire. Most of his horses do run going long. They can run on the turf. A little bit of everything on this page, though. I see dirt, I see synthetic, I see turf, so perhaps this one, they're still figuring out a little bit, I think.
We'd like to check out the Mike Welsh Clocker Report, always available on drf.com for Saratoga. It looks like that July 8th work went in company with a horse named Pearlescent, who debuted the other day for Vilma. Took some money, ended up with a 51 buyer speed figure and an even performance. Cold Hard Cash is next. That's the number 6, debuting for Linda Rice. And while McLean's Music is known for his speed, obviously, he has sired a Preakness winner. And you look at the bottom of this pedigree, I see long distance.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a very interesting blend in the pedigree. McLean's Music, you mentioned, had that Preakness winner in his first crop. I think that's going to help with your routing ability. There's a lot of route ability on the bottom side of the family, a lot of dirt route ability, but this mare is by Perfect Soul. I think that adds in your turf ability, and Linda Rice can certainly win with these 2-year-olds on the turf.
19% winners with 2-year-old first-time starters. That's McLean's Music. The dam a half to Sam P., who I believe placed in the Santa Anita Derby, obviously going 1 1/8. Victory Built is next, a $40,000 2-year-old in training purchase by Big Brown, who's solid, 10% with his juvenile debut runners, 10% first-turt. We remember Big Brown actually winning his career debut on turf at Saratoga as a 2-year-old. This dam was a juvenile stakes-winning dirt router. The third dam was a stakes winner on turf. It's the family of Flute. There's a lot of class and ability here, and I always respect Michael Maker runners.
Yeah, absolutely, especially on the turf. He really seems to find nice places for these horses. As you mentioned, Big Brown, a multiple winner on the turf at 2 and at 3, which I think people forget a little bit, but he's turned into a very nice regional turf sire here. This is the family of Flute, who's best known for her wins in races like the Kentucky Oaks, but there's a lot of turf in that Juddmonte family, and Flute herself has produced a graded winner on the turf.
Completing the field is Assault Breaker. This is a half-brother to Wild About Harry, a horse that was stakes placed on the turf, a $120,000 weanling by Street Boss, who does well with his turf runners. There's a lot of class in this pedigree. The dam was multiple stakes placed. We see the second, third, and fourth dam, all stakes winners. Good, solid performance first time out on the dirt. I have a feeling Jonathan Thomas has been waiting to stretch this one out, and I'm expecting a good performance with Javier aboard.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think they were looking for a spot to stretch this horse out. Another one coming out of a solid maiden heat, and Street Boss, a son of Street Cry, a sneaky good turf sire.
15% winners with first-time turf runners. Okay, we kick off the early pick 4 with our Spa Babies race. It's race number 2. Who do you like?
You know what? I think you're going to have an opportunity to play around a little bit with a price here. I think Mitzrayim should move forward with the distance and with the surface switch after being well beaten in that maiden, but that maiden came back well. Kobe, I also like a bit at a price, getting the turf, getting the distance. And, Mo Ready, I really just can't overlook, the intent of the connections, Pletcher, Rapoli. I think they'll have him ready to fire here at Saratoga.
I think this will be a very good betting race as well. I like Mo Ready, the 1A. I think he got enough fitness out of that debut. He was well regarded at the windows. As you mentioned, it was a very strong field he faced. And as we saw from the formulator fact, Todd does this very well, stretching horses out and moving from dirt to turf in the second lifetime start. So the 1A will be my top selection. I think Assault Breaker is going to run very well second time out as well. The 8, No Lime, an interesting first time starter. I'm really interested in these flashbacks. I think they're going to be okay. They've been runners thus far. Victory Built is my 4th choice in here. Mike Maker, Irad Ortiz. So I'm going to go 1A, 8, 5, and 7 in our Spa Baby race, and our Spa Baby coverage all season long, presented by Spendthrift, the Breeders' Farm.